the NewsChannel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. Very interesting show tonight. I'll start with a question. Should judges be able to offer reduced sentences if inmates get sterilized? It's a shocking question. It's something that actually happened in Tennessee, and it is among the issues that concerned two lawmakers we have with us tonight, and they have proposed a bill to prevent that from happening again. We'll discuss a bunch of stuff, but we want to discuss that, invite you to call in. But first, let's introduce Representative Brenda Gilmore. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
And Senator Jeff Yarbro, both Democrats. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
All right. Should judges offer reduced prison sentences if inmates get sterilized? So this happened in White County. There was a judge who said he was concerned about the use of drugs and inmates, I guess, coming out and having lots of children, and so he offered a 30-day reduction on their sentence if they would get sterilized. What are your thoughts on that? I'll start with you, Representative.
Well, obviously, we sponsored the legislation, so we're opposed to that practice, opposed to both using it as plea bargaining and also reduced sentences. I guess I should say that I thank the judge that he was concerned that this would hurt them when they got out, but one of the things I'm not sure he took in consideration is that probably the majority of people in prisons and in jails are people who can't afford attorneys, and some of them are there for very low crimes. And so what we're doing is treating poor people a little different than we are more affluent people who can't afford attorneys.
And well, and Senator Yarbro said here, according to there was a lawsuit filed. 35 women got a birth control implant. 42 men signed up to get vasectomies, though they did not get them. But 42 men were willing. 32 women got birth control implant as a result of trying to get a 30-day reduction on their sentence.
You know, I mean, Ben, we had a big debate in this country about whether judges could force people to undergo sterilization, but that happened in the 1900s, the early 1900s, and I mean, we're 100 years past when anyone thought this was a legitimate practice, and it's frankly disturbing that someone charged with enforcing the laws in one of Tennessee's counties would think that this would be an acceptable practice. I mean, this is a bill that we kind of wish we didn't have to file, but it's also one that's important because I mean, we really can't allow this type of thing to happen again.
The judge said, I hope to encourage them to take personal responsibility and give them a chance when they get out to not be burdened with children. This gives them a chance to get on their feet and make something of themselves.
And the other thing, Ben, that we probably need to discuss is many of these people are there because they have addictions. So we should be trying to come up with the resources to get them on the straight and narrow path. And because we want them to get better and to feel whole, what happens if they do, you know, get over this drug addiction? Now they have these permanent contraceptives, sterilizations, that in most cases affects them for the rest of their lives. And I will say that I have to stand up for the women. The 32 women have already had those implants, and none of the men have had those vasectomies.
Yeah, that's right. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So do you think others would try this? I mean, so this happened in White County. There was a bit of an uproar over it, but do you think others would try this?
I would hope not. And, you know, I think this judge has properly received a great deal of criticism. But if it's not clear under the law that you can't do this, then it needs to be clear under the law that this isn't an acceptable way to go about punishing people who have committed crimes. Everybody wants those who are incarcerated in our jails or prison system to take responsibility for their actions, to try to come out and live a better life. But forcing someone to choose between whether to undergo pretty serious life decision about whether they're going to have children going forward and whether to get out of jail is a decision that no one should be forced to make.
And this sheds light on all kinds of things, doesn't it? It sheds light on people probably didn't have a lot of resources. It sheds light on they were probably addicted to drugs, and in most cases opioids. But this sheds light on all kinds of things, that there were so many, this was only in effect for about a month, that so many people signed up to get 30 days off. Shows the desperation to get out of jail.
That's right.
And the money that I guess they didn't have. I mean, so when you see this, do you think it does kind of shine a light on all kinds of different stuff?
Well, it catches people in a very vulnerable position. I'm not sure if I was in prison, God forbid, that I wouldn't agree to something hideous like that to get out of jail. Being in prison and jail, I'm sure, are not nice places to be. And so you catch people at a very weak time where they feel like that they have very few alternatives. And they may agree to that, where in another setting and another time it would be absolutely no. It's totally unacceptable. And it's just a violation of their human rights.
And to take it to the next step, what you know is if the sheriff in this county and the judge in this county are approaching the operation of the jail system like this, I think we can probably rest assured that the rehabilitation program is probably not the best that's available. We in Tennessee, we have one of the higher recidivism rates for people coming out of prison of states in the country, and it's something that we all need to work, Republicans, Democrats, on improving. But if this sort of mindset is out there that it's okay to try to force people or coerce people, if you will, to be sterilized, then something tells me that we're not really approaching the rehabilitation part of criminal justice correctly in at least some portions of our state.
And yet there would be people out there who would say, you know, way to go. They would say, we got to do something. There are too many children that are being born to addicts. Addicts have lost the right to make a decision. It's harming a child. Again, this sheds light on so many problems. But you encounter somebody who says these are addicts and they're putting children at risk by bringing babies in and clogging up DCS and all of that. What do you say?
Well, I think two things. One is we need to educate them. And two is we need to give them the resource. It costs about $37,000 a year to put someone in prison. That's how much we pay for an inmate. It is much less to give them the adequate resources that they need. And then they come out being a productive citizen.
Well, I mean, I think the issue that you raise is actually a really important one. And I mean, I'm sponsoring legislation right now that would actually expand and encourage the use of long-acting reversible contraception, which would allow people to have something that could get them through an addiction, so that we don't see babies being born with neonatal abstinence syndrome. Over 1,000 children in Tennessee last year were born in addiction. But there are ways to actually achieve this without trying to force someone to undergo something that is as severe as a surgical operation or permanent sterilization. And I think that's a much better way to proceed.
So you're right, that permanent is one thing. You're sponsoring something that's temporary, is that right?
That's right. I mean, it's sort of IUDs, that type of. I mean, we're actually facing sort of some opposition in getting that bill passed right now. But in states where other states have adopted this long-acting reversible contraceptive just as something to be made more widely available, and they've seen teen pregnancy rates drop. They've seen abortion rates decline because there are fewer unwanted pregnancies. So it's not about not encouraging people to make responsible decisions, but there's a way to do this and a way not to do it. And most people don't want to live life as an addict and don't want to raise children that way. And I think that the decision to sort of coerce someone into sterilization is a little bit more of writing people off. And while I'm sure there's lots of people out there that say, by God, we should do something, I don't think you'll find a lot of people that would say that if their daughter or their son was in jail. I don't think they would say that's a great idea for my son.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to submit one other consideration too. What if you have an older woman or a man who is beyond childbearing years, and then you have this young woman and the young man, but that consideration is not offered to the older, but it's offered to the young. Then you're discriminating also against people because of their age. So the policy itself is just all wrong. There's no way that you can say anything about it is right.
Let's go to Lucy. Hello, Lucy.
Hey, y'all. Tell you what, when I saw this story on TV, I went nuts. I just went completely nuts because it reminded me of an old Supreme Court justice that ruled, you know, so many ways on poor people about them basically being moronic 100 years ago. And I thought, you know, am I hearing this story correctly? Now, I cannot take the pill. And I had a stroke on the birth control pill as a young woman. And my doctor warned me. He said, now, you can't take the pill. And you can't have a baby either because you might have a stroke. And I said, well, I want my tubes tied. No, you can't do that because you might want to have babies later on. And I'm like, now, hang on a second. What did you just tell me? He says, well, your husband might want to have children. So I'm sitting here thinking, I have no choice in this matter, but my husband can decide whether I have a stroke and die or something and leave a child here, and I have no decision in that. So I've kind of been through this whole thing and the whole bastard thing and the whole better y'all are dragging down the gene pool here kind of stuff, all of that. But what this reminded me of more than anything was an old Robert Duvall movie and an old documentary that PBS has shown before called The New Jim Crow. And it basically strips you of everything that you're about and makes you such a ward of the state that they do treat you like a moron because you're poor. So, you know, I hope y'all do pass a law, and I just cannot believe, as a native Tennessean and my ancestors going back to choice and being your own person, they're probably flipping in their graves now hearing this garbage that's going on. And all my life we heard about White County, and now I believe it. So on that, I'm going to hang up and let y'all talk. Bye.
All right, thank you, Lucy. Bob, what do you think? You can both comment on what Lucy said.
Well, I mean, I appreciate Lucy's call, and I think that, I mean, she's right and picked out that, you know, one of the more embarrassing Supreme Court sentences of all time is about this. It's sort of one generation of these people is enough. And the problem with it, and she sort of gets it, is that it is it's a justice system choosing to treat some group of people like they're not people. And fundamentally, that's wrong. And I think most people should know that's wrong. And, you know, I mean, I've been to White County. There are great people there. But I think we've seen a couple incidents here in the last few weeks where there are enough concerns about criminal justice and how it's being administered that we need to be very vigilant as people looking out for the future of the state.
And we used to do this. This is an ancient policy that we used to do in this country. People who had disabilities and mental health issues, and the one characteristic that all of them had is it was poor people. And so again, I would just say that this policy is all wrong for all the wrong reasons.
All right, we are also streaming this on our Facebook page, and I just started looking at our comments here. We're going to take a break. I'll come back and read some of the comments on Facebook. If you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We'll also talk about some other bills in the legislature. Okay. Interesting times. But we'll take a break. Be back right after this.